On the first signing day, we were able to tell you about the very nice class Maryland was bringing in, but it got a lot better since that December day. You see, Terrence Lewis has since committed to be a Terp. The linebacker from the Miami area is a 5-star prospect ranked among the top 20 players regardless of position in the country. He decommitted from Tennessee and didn't sign until after that first signing day, and this makes it back-to-back years that Locks is bringing in a 5-star player. Remember, he brought in Raheem Jarrett this year, and a heck of a lot of talented guys, including 4 other 4-star guys you see on this screen. Well, Mike Locksley's joining us now, and only 10 programs in the country have signed a 5-star recruit last year and this year, and Maryland is one of those 10 programs. Mike, congrats on this class. You know, since we last talked, you reeled in a big one. The Miami-based linebacker Terrence Lewis, top 20 player in the country. Why is he considered such a valuable prospect?
Well, I think the big thing for us is obviously his skill set. You know, we really worked this class on signing defenders and guys that can run and hit, and T2, as we affectionately call him, has the ability to do just that. You know, he's got great length. He's a guy that's an open field runner and hitter, shows great range, and then just when he gets there, he usually gets there with a pretty bad attitude. So to be able to land a player of his caliber, you know, Brian Williams, our co-defensive coordinator, D-line coach, does a great job down in the Miami area. You know, I've always believed in that friends and family recruiting process where you go where you've got ties and connections, and Brian has done a tremendous job for us down in that Miami area.
Did you say his nickname is T2? Is that a Terminator reference?
Yeah, T2.
I love it. Is that your nickname for him, or is that what he was called in high school?
No, he came with that one. That's
a nickname you keep, for sure.
Yeah.
You mentioned, though, defense was so important to you in this class, and we talked about it back on the first signing day, too. Your top 8 players are all defensive sides, and the defense struggled last year on the field. So should we assume that some of these guys will have a legitimate chance to play this coming fall?
Yeah, we always recruit each kid with the intent that, hey, our goal is to play you as early as you're ready. And I've always believed that you come in with the mindset that you're going to play early, but if you're not ready, we're not going to throw you out there to the wolves per se. But the hard part is if they come in with the mindset that they're not going to play and then they get thrown out there. So we really, you know, we recruit these guys with the intent to play them as early as they possibly can play for us, to compete for that opportunity. And, you know, I would expect, because of a lot of the change and the things that we've had with us being still fairly a new staff, a new program, that these guys will all have the ability to come in and compete for opportunities to help us next year and help us early.
Most of the success you have today is from signings, but there was a transfer. The wide receiver Marcus Fleming comes in, another talented wideout. Mike, I'm starting to look at the wide receiver core you're going to have this fall. It's pretty impressive.
Yeah, you know, Marcus was a guy that we recruited really heavily out of Miami a year ago, and obviously made the decision to go to Nebraska. And, you know, once he went into the transfer portal, because we knew so much about him, having spent a lot of time recruiting him, he was a natural fit. You know, the receiver position here is probably the best room in our building right now. And we've got some talented guys there. And I'm a big believer that, you know, if you get those guys, you win games by making explosive plays. And the more guys you have in that room and as offensive weapons that have the ability to make explosive plays, the better chance you have to score points and win games.
Give me something from on the field this past fall that happened that you see as progress for the program moving forward.
Yeah, I know you mentioned earlier about defensively how we didn't maybe play as well on the field. And, you know, I can tell you from the second half of the Minnesota game on, I thought our defense did a lot better job of being able to get off the field on third down. You know, when we looked and did our self-scout and we just finished quality control in our season, we improved in all major defensive categories with the exception of turnovers. And that's the one area where I feel like you've got to create turnovers and not turn it over to win, and you've got to have big plays on offense and limit big plays. And I thought our defense made some major strides last season from the second half of the Minnesota game on, of playing really good defense and the limited work that we were able to get in.
Before we let you go, Mike, the question in most people's minds, will Late Night with Locks be coming back this summer?
Man, you know what? I'm in negotiations with a couple of different networks, and you know, we're still in talks. So, you know, stay tuned. You never know.
Well, wear that jacket if you want their attention, because it's going to work. Mike, congrats on this class. Great talking to you. We'll talk soon.
Thanks, Mike.
You know, there's reason to be happy if you're Mike Locksley. Not just the success of his YouTube talk show from over the summer, but Alan, I mean, the year before he took over, they had a class ranked in the upper 40s in the country. Last year, his class was 31. This year, it's 18th. This is working perfectly. I mean, it's going the exact direction you want it to go.
Yeah, and when you can land 5 stars, it's going to help bring up those rankings and those averages. And they've done it the last 2 seasons, as we mentioned, with Rakim Jarrett and then Terrence Lewis. And I think the impressive thing about those 2 gets as well is that Rakim was closer to home, the all-important DMV area. Then you go this year and you get a 5-star out of Florida. So they've shown that they can recruit high-level talent close to home, and they can also leave home and go down south and do that. So you're establishing a little bit of a Miami pipeline now with him, and we talked about Marcus Fleming. And then you're also recruiting guys closer to home. And then the final thing on that, Coach mentioned Brian Williams. We've talked in this show a couple times about our 24/7 assistant coach recruiter rankings. He's number 1 in the Big Ten right now and top 5 in the country.
Yeah, I think that's impressive as you continue to make changes to your coaching staff, because that's what's happening in Maryland right now. The first staff that you hire, you believe is going to be a great staff for you, but until you guys are out there actually coaching and in meetings and doing different things, you're not so sure if it's going to be the right decision in the end. And you've seen Coach Locksley start to make some adjustments to his staff, and I think it's going to continue to pay dividends in the recruiting side of it. It's all about them being able to go out and put the wins in the column that they need to, as opposed to the losses, because I know that the recruiting is going to take care of itself, because it's a high premium on that. He's going to put that on his program, but now it's also that time for him to start to retool, which he's doing, that staff to get the right guys that can ultimately put Maryland football where he wants it to be.
And Locks gave us a little bit of insight how the portal works, right? Marcus Fleming, relationship. Yeah. They lost him. He went somewhere else. And as soon as he got in the transfer portal, they already had a relationship. Hey, we know this about Mike Locksley. I mean, he is a talented guy, but he can coach an offense, he can call a game, and he can recruit. And whenever you have that kind of background that Locksley has, your most important staff member is your defensive coordinator. And now he's going on a second one. Howard, you're right about that first staff, but no coach has ever kept all of his coaches after the first year of being a head coach. It just doesn't happen. You always make some changes. So he signs 1 5-star in defense, 4 4-stars on defense, and he's going to hire a new defensive coordinator. He is in great position. This class is just what he needs to boost the defense. Now, the most important staff decision he may ever make at Maryland going forward will be his next defensive coordinator.
And, Jerry, not just that top-tier defensive talent, but 11 of the top 12 recruits in this class for Maryland are on the defensive side of things.